Welcome to the opening of the solo exhibition of artist Giuseppe Frascaroli. The event will take place live on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter and YouTube, involving an audience estimated at about 30,000 people. I will now leave the floor to Professor Alberto Moioli, who will comment on the artist's works.
Giuseppe Frascaroli is an extraordinary character, an artist widely historicized at the international level. Because he has exhibited in the places, in the venues of the really most important institutions, both from the private, public, and I would add, even ecclesiastical point of view, because he is also known as the painter of the popes, having exhibited in apostolic places right in Rome. But above all, he has materially delivered some paintings, some large portrait paintings dedicated to the popes, just to the people he has painted. So to Pope Voitila, to Pope Benedict XVI, up to Pope Francis himself just in these days. And so he is an artist who has a very, very important cultural and stylistic stratification of which we really could talk about for many hours.
Among the works that we admired, there is one in particular that struck me and moved me.
Yes, you chose one of his many still lifes that are really amazing works. He has a very particular style, postmodernist, a style that recalls a return to painting, a return to a very strong figuration with neoclassical references. And the very interesting thing is that we find this style of his both in reproduction, in portraiture, as I talked about before, but also we find the same style when he paints landscape, when, as in this case, he painted this beautiful still life. Still life that also reminds us very much of that Flemish experience of the 18th century. And so when we were talking about vanitas, when we were talking about symbols, when we were talking about time and the cordicity of life, that is when really within each work, within each still life, as in this case, there was really a very, very deep and, as I said before, layered content. So credit to Giuseppe Frascaroli for being able to represent, even through an apparently simple still life, really very, very much more.
Professor Moioli, how would you define Frascaroli's art, and in which contemporary art current would you place his works?
Then this is a really particularly interesting question, because the whole artistic, expressive and creative path of Giuseppe Frascaroli is related to a series of currents, indeed to a very particular historical period, namely that historical period that goes indicatively between the years late 70s and early 80s, in which we were beginning to talk about cultured painting, a very particular and very interesting movement, akin also to an anachronistic movement, because it all went to combat the spread of abstract painting, of informal painting, of the trans-avant-gardes, and therefore all those great innovations that had forced a series of painters, including Giuseppe Frascaroli, to impose themselves through a new figuration, to a return to painting. And therefore this was also the philosophy not only of Giuseppe Frascaroli, but also of this large group that was linked to cultured painting. And also I was saying anachronism, because however anachronism also the same word from the ancient Greek ana and chronos, and therefore against time, because it is a contemporary painting, a painting that speaks of today actually with very strong connections with the past, with classicism, a new postmodernism, and however, a call to painting and a return to painting of a figuration, an important artistic current within which the experience of Giuseppe Frascaroli was really very interesting. Indeed, it is still very interesting, because all this culture, all this information really related to a continuous desire to grow of Giuseppe Frascaroli determines an artistic path always evolving, always based on research, innovation and culture. That's why the painting of Giuseppe Frascaroli is definitely to be defined as a painting not only cultured but also particularly refined.
We thank Professor Moioli for his speech and make an appointment for the kind audience who followed us to the next exhibition of the Encyclopedia of Italian Art.